That's funny. I clicked the live button a little late. The music was already over. Hey, everybody! Thanks for joining our live. Sorry that I think we're 1 minute late. Maybe not. Anyway, today we're going to talk about apps for real estate. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or investor, there are a lot of things that you may be searching for or information that you'd like to find, and we're going to discuss those today as options. So we're a couple of realtors in the Austin area. We're hoping that if we provide you with enough education and information that you'll choose one of us when it is your time to buy, sell, or invest. So a couple other things. If you are listening to this, it's going to be kind of hard. So we're going to try to put the apps themselves, like the links to the apps after this, in the description. So that way you can go and look at the information. So why don't we go around and introduce ourselves, starting with Crystal.
Crystal, welcome back, guys. Keller Williams Realty, Northwest Market Center.
What's up, everybody? Liberty here with Pure Realty, serving the Austin area. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about these apps. I'm excited to hear about what you guys use. I wonder if it's the same ones that I use.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, right? Everybody has something that they do. Some people just go straight to Zillow and they're like, I'll figure it out. It's like, no, please don't do that. So why don't we start with buyers? So do you ladies have some kind of app that you recommend to your buyers?
Okay, so hopefully when I'm first meeting my buyer, they're a little ways from buying a home. A lot of times that's when they come in. They're like thinking about it, what they're going to do next year. Mm-hmm. When we have a sit down and they're talking about, maybe even before they talk to their lender, they were like, what can I do to get on the track to buying a home? And one of the apps that I've used that I really enjoy and think is great is the Every Dollar app. You may have heard it from Dave Ramsey. He talks about it a lot. It's his app. And I encourage you to go listen to Dave Ramsey. You might not agree with what he says. He says a lot of controversial stuff. I don't even agree with everything he says, but I do like the app. So it's the Every Dollar app, and it is a budgeting app. So you can put in all of your expenses and your income, and you can really get a good overview of the money coming in and the money going out. Because when you're saving for a home, or when you're trying to figure out how much home you're going to purchase, it's good to know how much you're working with on a monthly basis.
I like that. That's really good. Really good. How about you, Crystal?
So I don't have an app, but I have a website.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's all the same.
The one that I'm sharing, it's called SmartAsset.com. And I actually got this from JJ. JJ's not with us today. But he introduced me to this website, and I've been sending these to all my buyers in case they want to figure out how much they can afford. It has a mortgage calculator. And the reason why I like this one is because it literally has everything down to from like the home price down to monthly HOA, and then like the annual property tax in the area. You can input all that information. It gives you, I'd say, a pretty accurate estimate of how much your monthly payments will be, in case you're trying to figure out how much you can afford. And then if you do get that pre-approval and you have like that amount, you can input all those numbers in here, and then you'll kind of know what your monthly payments will be. And then
go ahead. Sorry.
And then it has like a rent versus buy, which like will give you some insight as to whether you should continue renting, or if you can actually benefit from actually buying instead of continuing to rent. So it has a bunch of information in terms of like buying, investing, and all that stuff.
I really like that. I love the rent versus buy, because people ask that a lot. Like, well, how much am I actually going to save, or how much is it over time? I like to start off with where you're spending $20,000 a year in rent, $50,000, $60,000 every 5 years paying rent. So you should probably consider buying. But aside from that, you said HOA and property taxes. A lot of these mortgage calculators, you look on Zillow and stuff like that, they may not have, let me be careful. They may not have the information that is a huge, huge deal. Property taxes in Texas are higher than most people expect. right? So in California, you're relocating from California, property taxes could be 1.8%, 2.0%. And people in California are like, oh my gosh. Here, property taxes are pushing 3% in a lot of places, especially in the suburbs around Austin. So if you don't know that and you don't calculate that into your payment, that could be hundreds of dollars a month on a $300,000 home, right? So that's a big deal for property investors and for buyers. Huge. So I love that your app shows that. Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to, because you mentioned the property taxes, that's the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to show, this is the Travis County Appraisal District website. So no matter where you are in Texas, there is a county appraisal district website that breaks down the taxes for any address that you're interested in. It shows what percentage of taxes you're paying as a whole. It also shows if it's going to, how much is going to each school district, how much is going to roads. And it's just a huge benefit when you're looking. Now, realtors, we obviously have that information in our MLS, but if you're looking for it for yourself and you just want to find what the property taxes are, type in an address. So go to your favorite realtor's website, look up the address. Once you have that address, or once you get a search for a place, type that address into the county appraisal district. So if you're in Austin, Texas, it's traviscad.org. And then if you're north of Austin, it's wcad.org. So for Williamson County. And then if you're south of Austin, it is Hayes County, just so you have that information. Plus, there's a couple other things. You can file your homestead free here and get some other property forms, check your permits and all that. So I think it's a really powerful tool that not a lot of people know how to use or have used.
How would you define a homestead for someone who doesn't know what it is?
So the first thing is, I would say it caps. So it protects your primary residence, not an investment property. It caps your tax rate at, I think it's 10% annually. And so if taxes spike to 13, or the appraised values of your home spikes 13, 15% in a year, well, it's capped.
Which it is on track to do.
Which is on track at. Good point. Yeah. It's on track to do. So it caps that only for your primary residence. Plus,
so important.
It also, how would I say this? If you are paying taxes as if your home was $500,000 normally without a homestead, with a homestead, it might be, I'm throwing an arbitrary number, don't hold me to this. It might be that you're paying taxes instead as $450,000 instead of $500,000. So there's also a slight discount on the tax appraised tax value that you're paying tax on. So you have both of those benefits with a homestead exemption. So the second one saves you just a little bit of money, but the first one, that saves you a lot of money. Can save you a lot of money if we have a spike in the appraised values in the area. And the last couple of years, I did a video on my YouTube channel where 5 years in Manor, for example, 50% appreciation in 5 years. That means 10% every year. It's huge. All right. Who's next? What else do we want to talk about? Either one of you.
I would say I'm next. Speaking of favorite realtor websites, I want to invite everyone to go check out my website, libertywalker.com. And you can search for properties that are on the market. You can do a home evaluation on your own home, search for rentals. I mean, the sky's the limits, guys. Go check it out. libertywalker.com.
I love it. I think one important note to add to that is every realtor that you work with, or just about every realtor you work with, has a dedicated website that they use that is not Zillow, Realtor, or Trulia, or Redfin, or one of those. And their websites are often connected to the actual MLS, so that the accuracy of the data is arguably better, but also they can see what you're searching. And so it makes for better communication and discussions around the homes that you're looking for. Now, if you love the way Zillow looks, fine. Verify it with your realtor, but also you can invite your realtor in sometimes to those websites. I think realtor.com allows you to invite your realtor. and then they can see what you're searching for on that site too. So be careful. Don't click on stuff because they sell your data. That's all they're trying to do. We can open every single door that's out there.
I just want to add, like, people who are using Zillow, very inaccurate. Especially their estimates. They're not very accurate.
So lately, like for rental properties, people would like take a screenshot and send it to me, and I'm like, this isn't even a valid address. Like, I feel like it gets hacked, and so then it throws them off. So there's some information on Zillow that I would not recommend. I mean, call me. I will see if it's a valid address, so that you're not wandering around in the street somewhere trying to find this house that's not for rent.
Their job is to sell your information to realtors who will pay for your number, period. They make it look good. Keep that in mind. Okay, so, but I don't like talking about Zillow a whole lot. Let's jump to the next one.
Let's move on. So I guess my next one is basically what every realtor in the state of Texas has. So I'm just going to show them how I use the portal and how getting a realtor is very beneficial because we all have access to this. And this is how we search for information that you can't find, like you cannot find anywhere else. Okay, so this is an example. So basically, if you want to pull up, if I want to make like a CMA for my buyer to figure out, how much do we want to offer on this home, I looked up my neighborhood, which is like Turtle Creek, and then pending and closing. I looked up those properties because that's what you want to look for. And so once that kind of generates, it pulls up all the homes that have closed within the last 90 days. And then I get the amount that it sold for and what date it sold at. So with this information, we can come up with a proper CMA and try to figure out how much are you willing to actually purchase this home.
Yeah, I want to mention that a lot of people think that if they go to one of those websites and they look and see what houses are on the market, they can count that. Well, this house is for sale for, $575,000 and my house is better. That means my house should be for sale for that. That's not how it works. It should be what has actually sold. That's what they're going to praise it at. Now, all that being said, today's market is wonky. I have no idea. There's like no level of accuracy. Putting in appraisal waivers. I had one that we went, I've got $30,000, $40,000, $75,000 over asking. It's crazy. But generally, you have to find what has closed because that's how the tax appraiser, this is a non-disclosure state, Texas is. So you don't tell people what your house is worth, but they look and see what has sold and they compare that. And that's how they come up with your property value. So be very careful.
Yep.
And not only websites.
Yeah. And not only can I look up subdivisions, but I can look up, school districts, homes in certain school districts, certain high schools, and, year built, acres, how big of a lot do you want? And, it gets very specific. So we can do a lot more than what you can find in Zillow or Realtor.com.
It's very, very granular.
I mean, do you guys look at the hot sheets and like the background market?
Yes.
And I mean, that's what I wake up in the morning and I like pour myself a cup of coffee and I'm like, what's on the hot sheets today? And then
I like it.
There's a lot of information on there.
Sorry. I'm just like, we have like a lot of apps. We have a lot of apps to go through. So the one I'm pulling up, it's called powertochoose.org. So here's what's important to know. If you are moving to Texas, electricity, depending on where you are, electricity may be deregulated. So in most cases outside of Austin proper, so that means any of the suburbs like Pflugerville, Round Rock, Cedar Park, or a lot of the suburbs, the electric is deregulated. And generally electricity is on par with some of these other states. So it's expensive, right? Gas, oil might be cheap, but electric is expensive. And a lot of people don't know this. It's probably like 50-50 for neighborhoods, entire neighborhoods that are all electric. They don't even have gas as an option. Mm-hmm. You need to be aware of this. So because of that, if you're looking for an electric provider, you can go to powertochoose.org. there's put in the zip code. One of you ladies, give me a zip code. I'm going to do 78660 because that's Pflugerville, right? View results. And then it shows price per kilowatt hour and company rating, right? So here's the thing. Your electricity is all coming from the same power plant. Doesn't even matter. But who you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis and what they charge is variable. So this gives you carte blanche, a la carte. One of those Latin words, phrases. You can go and choose what you're willing to pay and who is servicing you based on their customer service rating and their per kilowatt hour charge. So I'm going to give you an example. If you look up, let's say, an electric vehicle, they average, because of California's energy rates, they average 13 cents per kilowatt hour. So now when you're coming to this website and you see 5 cents, you're like, oh, wait, that helps me understand what my energy usage is going to be for everything, how much my bill should be. Obviously, it's going to matter how efficient your home is, how nice the windows are, if you're leaving the blinds open all the time, if you leave your refrigerator open all the time, those all matter. Those are all factors, but you can still save money by using a site like this. So please keep it in mind. Is that good? Was that a good one? Who's next? What else?
One. I honestly, hand to God, thought that Austin Energy was like the only one you could use.
In Austin proper, it is.
Okay.
Right? Unless you're getting solar panels. And then solar panels, they create their own relationship with Austin Energy, and then you might actually get a credit back depending on where you are. But yeah, mostly in Austin proper, you have to use Austin Energy. Outside in the suburbs, you get some of these other deregulated options. There are a few caveats to that. Some places have, like there's Pedernales, which is in Leander and Liberty Hill in some of those areas where you can only use them, but most suburbs are deregulated. So that's good to know. People that are coming from New York, they're familiar with that.
Cool. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I saved the most fun for last. And my last apps that I love using are Genius Scan. I feel like such a dork when I say it. But it's such a good app. Genius Scan. You have got to get this app. Even if you're submitting any sort of document, you can make a PDF file on the go. You can easily email it from yourself to your lender or from yourself to your realtor. If you're, scanning maybe a buyer rep agreement or any kind of document that you need to scan on the go. A lot of people have told me, they're just like, I don't have a scanner to use, or I'll take a picture of it and send it to you. Genius Scan is so much better than that. It's like taking a photo, but it compresses it and it makes it so it's the contrast is bumped up and you can really read those PDFs. And I know your lender will appreciate it, and so will your realtor. So I would recommend getting that as soon as possible and sticking it in one of your financial folders or business folders on your phone and keeping it there, keeping it handy.
I like that. That's a good one. I mean, and I use stuff like that for everything, for my license plates, for my insurance cards, for everything. So that way but it applies really well for documentation like real estate.
I didn't even know about that. I could definitely use that.
So
do you have another one, Crystal, for sellers or investors?
For both sellers and buyers. So, I mean, I don't know if this is a good one, but recently title companies have been doing like money transfers electronically.
Yeah.
And one of the apps that I've used pretty frequently was Zoccam. Zoccam, I think that's how you spell it. But yeah, so that app, you can, if the title company has like an account with Zoccam, you can just find the title company and then transfer the money from your phone to the title company instead of like personally delivering the money to them.
For like earnest money and option money?
Yeah, so you can do it in one amount. Some title companies have been accepting the earnest and the option all at once, and then they just split it once they get it. And then they'll send it to the seller, the option money. We're
making some legal changes to our documents that allow allow the title company to accept option money. Because
Yeah.
it was a whole thing where title companies aren't supposed to touch the money. You know, you're supposed to send it directly to the seller, the option money to the seller, and then the earnest money to the title company. It's just so confusing. So now you can send everything to the title company instead of dealing with like five different things.
Yeah, I think it starts in February.
Yeah, but yes. So this one, I'm kind of excited for this one because we're about to get deep. This is called AreaVibes. So sometimes people ask me, they're like, well, is it safe? What's the crime like? Legally, I can't answer that because safe is a relative term, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't say how walkable an area is because not everybody can walk, and I'm being very serious about that. I can't say how safe everything is because it's different for people. I can't tell you what's a good school, but I can tell you where to go to find good schools. We're going to go to that one in a second, but let's start with this one. So if I type in Round Rock, Texas, because we've heard that that was a very safe neighborhood or safe city, it shows you a lot of information about the city, livability score, cost of living, crime. That's what you want to see, right? Most people want to see what the crime is for some of these. And so AreaVibes gives you a lot of information. I'm going to type that in here. AreaVibes.com, right? .com. And there's another one called Crime Data, which is a little more granular. So I'm going to throw that in there. Crime Data. And they have an app, or Spot Crime. Sorry, not Crime Data, Spot Crime. Okay, my internet's moving a little slow. Hold on. So Spot Crime has an app on your phone, and it shows you what type of crime. That is huge. So if you wanted to know if it was a crime of passion or a crime of opportunity, was it a murder? Was it a burglary? Was it someone keyed a car? Was it domestic violence? So they show this. So January 27th, there are 50 different crime records. This is an ad. Do not click your ads. Don't hit open. Don't fall for that garbage. That's how they have to pay.
In case you guys are wondering what I'm going to do tonight, I'm just going to scouring.
Well, this is good because it shows registered sex offenders. It shows all sorts. So look. Someone got beat up here. Someone was burgled here. There was some graffiti here. I mean, it's a really good app to find your own information because your realtor legally cannot tell you where to go or what's going on due to like fair housing laws and codes.
Well, I mean, it just seems like, you know, everything really is relative to what the buyer and the seller comes with. So,
right. You come from the south side of Chicago. I was north, like suburban north. But if you come from the south side of Chicago and then you move to a place like Westlake Hills in Austin, Texas, or just west of Austin, Texas, that's a very different feel, right? Like it's just, you can't quantify that for someone. You're not in their shoes. You don't know what they're looking for. You think you know, but you can never assume. So that's the first one I wanted to bring up. And then I wanted to talk about greatschools.org. And I'm going to let one of you ladies talk about Great Schools. Have you ever used this one? I mean, Liberty, your mom.
I work with a bunch of first-time home buyers who have no kids yet.
Okay, well, this is good. So if you're considering moving to an area because you're planning to raise a family or you want to have solid resale value down the line because, and that's, I can't guarantee that, but generally people look for school ratings. Now, here's the thing. There have been a lot of arguments about this nonprofit website called greatschools.org. But if I put in, let's say, I'm going to say Westlake, because that's the one I brought up earlier, Westlake, Texas. It'll break it down. So this is a nonprofit website. The ratings are...
Is it 1 through 10?
Well, it is 1 through 10. It is 1 through 10. And they have pre-K, elementary, middle school, so all sorts of ratings. They show exactly where it is.
This is great.
And here's the thing. You have to break it down and understand what those ratings mean. That is the most important. It shows number of students, number of students per class, diversity. They added diversity ratings to the schools and they have test scores, but this only shows public schools. So if you jump in and you add niche.com, that one shows private schools and public schools and charter schools, and charter schools. So Round Rock, for example, has a lot of charter schools, which is different than public schools. So they wouldn't show up on greatschools.org. So if I look up K through 12, let's say I wanted to do Leander ISD, Leander School District. So it has a breakdown overall, and then it gives you a report card. So the food, subjectively, that's the thing. Like I love eggnog. Most people I talk to don't like eggnog unless it has a lot of alcohol in it. I like it straight up. I love it straight up. So that's what I'm saying. So food, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Just because it has high ratings doesn't mean it's a better school. And I can only say that 100 times, right? You have to be cognizant of what these mean. Numbers can always be manipulated. Do not take this as gospel. Okay, but it's nice to see. It's nice to understand, because this is what a lot of people are looking at to decide so many things based on their home. And then it links to the maps and shows you where all the schools are for that area, for example. Number 21 of 1,000 in Texas. That's pretty solid, but what does that really mean, right? Best teachers, number 12 in Texas. But what does that really mean? So break it down take it with a grain of salt, but do your research. Greatschools.org and niche.com are excellent, excellent tools for you.
That's awesome.
Some of these tools I didn't know of, so thank you.
Now they just do one for daycares, rating daycares.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Do we have time for one more? Do you ladies? Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we could just say Google Drive too. I mean, it's
right out there
source. You know, Google Drive is such a creative folder. You can share it with your realtor, and then you can upload you can upload all sorts of documents. And
yeah, we can probably upload like copies of our buyer representation agreements and all these agreements that legal documents that you guys want copies of.
Throughout the process, you're emailing back and forth, like so many different things. And to have one place where they all can live for your files and for your realtor's files is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's Miss Dill Pickle says, loving these apps. I think I agree. I think these are things that people, they ask all these questions. So why not provide them with the tools so that they can find that information. I think that's really important. Thank you. I've got another one here if you're ready for this. Oh,
yes.
Every title company, or just about every title company or realtor or mortgage lender, has something called a seller net sheet calculator. This, if you're thinking of selling a house, this is huge. Everyone wants to know what's it going to cost. What's it going to cost after I pay brokers, after I pay title, after I pay a warranty? Most people don't know they have to pay a warranty, or after I have to pay the HOA. Did you know you have to pay the HOA for you to sell your house? What? Okay, so those types of, if there's an HOA, so those types of things are really important. So what this does is you can put some information. What type of loan do you have? You put your address, and then it breaks down all of those elements. So let's say I'm going to do conventional. Here's what I wanted to show you. Your location, it matters. Why does it matter? Tax rates, right? So you can put in tax rates because the buyer is going to pay off, and you as a seller are going to have a certain amount of tax due at closing. And so one or the other is going to be compensated for the tax that was already paid on a daily accrual basis. Another thing is if you're paying if you're paying credits toward the sale of your home. Let's say the buyer didn't have all the money and they were like, can you help me? Well, seller credits. So you add that in there. Add if you have to do repairs like painting and stuff. If there's a transfer fee for the HOA, like I had mentioned, did you already pay your HOA? Do you pay it annually? What are your annual property taxes? When are you closing? Because it counts that day by day. What is the commission which is always negotiable in the great state of Texas, but it's important to know, what are the closing costs? Are you paying the seller's are you paying the title policy as a seller, which is commonplace until right now where the market's ridiculous, and sometimes buyers will pay it for you. And then what is the price you're planning to sell it for? And then what's the biggest one? Oh, this is the biggest one right here. Right here. This is what everybody's like, oh, I could sell my house right now for $400,000. Sure, but what do you owe the bank? Right? Because if you owe the bank $280,000, you're not walking away with $400,000. It's not what's happening. You're walking away with whatever you have to pay plus the loan that you owe on the home. So this does all those calculations for you, makes it super interesting, super straightforward, and gives you a realistic expectation of what you're going to leave with, what you're netting when it's time for you to purchase when it's time for you to sell your home. And that lets you know what you can go buy. Because you're not just going to sell it and leave. You got to buy something. Right?
Yes, so, I love this one. That's such a great one.
I think so, right?
Yes.
Hey, Kristina. She says, I love the info. Love the info. Thank you. No, thank you for joining.
Thank you for tuning in.
All right, we are a couple minutes past already. Gosh.
That was so much information, so many tools. It's amazing, the technology. Imagine purchasing a home in the 80s. Like, what was out there then? You really just had to rely on the realtor 100%.
You ladies have time for me to share one more really quick. I promise it'll be super quick. Sure. One more. Okay, last one. Because I don't think people understand this. This is crazy. This is a good one. Okay. All right. Google Maps. It sounds dumb, but if you're trying to figure out how long it takes to get from one place to the other. So let's say I want to go to Apple in Austin, and I want to travel from Apple to Gigafactory, Giga Texas, Apple to Tesla. I can see exactly how long it's going to take.
25 minutes.
Only
25 minutes to get from one to the other. So whenever I'm dealing with clients that say, Liberty Hill's too far. It's not too far. It's only 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes to Apple. It matters where you're going to work and when you're going to leave. So you can even go this handy dandy little tool and hit change to depart at. And let's do a 7:30 a.m. if you're actually working at the office. Most people are working remote, right? 7:30 a.m. Boom, 24 to 35 minutes if you're willing to pay tolls. If you're not, 26 to 40 minutes. So you have the ability to track and plan where you're going to move based on how you're going to live your life. And I think this is an underutilized tool. And it's pretty cool. And it's free. I like free.
That's
got to pay for everything else. Very cool. All right. Thank you. Thank you for, like I said, for watching and communicating with us. And anybody who's still watching or listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Google or Amazon or Spotify, make sure you leave some comments on what your favorite apps are, and we'll cover those in a future video. Ladies, you want to give our parting words?
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. We're very resourceful, so get a realtor. I know most of the time I don't give out direct answers because, everyone has their own definition of what safety means or what a good school means. So we'll provide you with all the resources that we have, and you kind of just, come up with your own conclusions.
I love it. Thank you. Liberty?
Yes, thanks for spending some time with us this Friday, and hope that everyone has a happy weekend, going to some open houses, maybe putting some offers in. Best of luck to you. And don't forget to take a moment of calm and breathe throughout this process, because it is a stressful one. It can be. So
very true. I love that. And you mentioned open houses. What I'm going to say is, if you're going to an open house and you don't want to get pestered, this is a little trick. Bring your realtor's business card, right? And that way, if somebody's going to call, if you visit 10 houses, there are 10 different realtors that want to call you to sell you something. It might be me. I'm just saying, bring your business card and then hand that to them. And then they'll let you walk the house. And then if they want feedback on the house, they can call your realtor. Because we hear a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I've got a realtor. I know a realtor. But sorry, I saw this pop up. Where's my cap? I wanted to be different today. I took the hat off just because, you know.
It's
so
nice to see
all that to say, thanks again. Say it again.
I said it's great to see your hair.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't think people do that hair.
Oh, it looks good.
Good talking to you, Don. Thank you.
Thanks,
so,
everyone.
ladies, thanks again. Everyone, thank you. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend and see you later. See you next week. Same place, same time.
We'll be talking about taxes next week. Woo!
Oh,